walking in virtual reality, past and future of VR locomotion. So, who am I? I am Spirit Mars rover, or Spirit. Not the one on Mars though. And as you can tell, I'm a bit of a space enthusiast. Just a little bit. And I also like virtual reality. And I also do have made some VR chat worlds as well. So these are some of my popular ones. So pop in a second here. Come on, there we go. Yep, there we go. And Cosmos VR, NASA JPL, and an experiment on a Mosin-Nagant rifle, and quick overview, crappy picture of my setup. I'm running a wireless Vive, bunch of stuff. And the thing about that is that a quick thing about that is that if my headset does crap out during this talk, then I do apologize. But continuing on, ever since seeing the original dev kit, original Oculus dev kit online as a kid, I wanted to get into the VR scene. So I did what any middle schooler would have done at the time and got something like this for my first VR headset. And even as a young gamer, I could tell that there was still a lot that needed to be done before virtual reality became a full-fledged gaming device. One of those problems is the locomotion problem. And while daydreaming during class, I'd often imagine like a series of pulleys or a gimbal so you can move freely in virtual reality. And nearly a decade later, we've hardly made any steps in that direction. So why is the locomotion problem so hard? So with artificial locomotion, where the virtual environment moves around you, that can cause motion sickness in a lot of users. And there are many theories on why this happens, but in general, it's a disagreement between what the eye see and what the ear feels, and also the immersion of each different locomotion system, either whether it's for vehicles or it's for like an elevator or specifically for walking, which I'll be talking about today. And that can also be dictated on the quality of the hardware. So during VR's inception, the early VR headsets the early locomotion methods had to work around the limitations of the hardware. So we got stuff like the sort of Damocles headset, if the slide would change here in a second, which is basically immovable as far as the arm is aware. So they would have to have done some sort of locomotion with that. And we got cave systems where only 3 walls you can actually see in virtual reality. And of course, you have 1 wall missing, so you can only rotate so far before you stop seeing stuff. There were a lot of different experiments to try to reduce cyber sickness or motion sickness. And these methods were sort of similar to today. So we got like point method or walk in place or early omnidirectional treadmills. So here's a couple of videos on walk in place and point, pretty similar to what we have today. And later on, the U.S. military did work on a very early device for omnidirectional treadmills, and of course we have more modern devices, ball treadmills, stuff like that. And there's also a lot of different options that we have today, and you can find a lot of silly stuff at the Locomotion Vault on GitHub. I think head bowling is one of my favorite ones that you can see on there. So finally, when the consumers got their headsets, it also inherited the locomotion problem. Many devs focused on using low motion sickness methods like teleport or room scale or vehicles. It was such an issue that one of the earliest consumer grade headsets, the CV1, didn't even come with motion controllers like we have today. It was assumed that you'd be seated with an Xbox controller. And these games had to work around these lower immersion methods. So we got games such as Space Pirate Trainer. Come on, slide. Space Pirate Trainer. Beat Saber is a famous one, of course, and Hover Junkers that has more of a vehicle style combat. And that sort of arrives today. Developers soon realized, though, that it was okay to use artificial locomotion to make better games, but this meant that users would be forced to get their VR legs to play these games. There were a few alternatives to the joystick standard, so we got games like HCVR with Arm Swinger, or software that does walk in place. But the number of games that use joystick locomotion dwarfs Arm Swingers or walk in place users, and not even to mention the consumer-grade omnidirectional treadmills. Overall, the locomotion problem hasn't been solved. Joystick locomotion still has issues. Not very precise. It's not very active, and I don't like it too much. Walk in place or arm swing are not much better, and while omnidirectional treadmills use your legs, it's still an artificial locomotion, and all of these are all still artificial locomotion, where the virtual environment moves around you. And eventually, I think omnidirectional treadmills would become mainstream, but they currently suffer from a lot of problems right now. They're expensive, they're big, they're restricting, and they have unnatural movement, and they're loud. And then, like I said earlier, they're still artificial locomotion, and they kind of look kind of funny too. So here's an example of the sort of motion that you get with the slide mill. This video will load shortly here. You get a kind of a leaning forward and scraping effect that you get with the slide mills. See there, this is obviously Thrillseeker's video on the catwalks, which I think are pretty good videos. So, but I've noticed that one locomotion method has been left out of a lot of VR discussions. It's been around since omnidirectional treadmills. It is free, it doesn't require any extra hardware, and it uses your legs. So, what is it called? I'm talking about manual redirected walking. It actually goes by several names. Infinite walking, role-play walking, real locomotion, or just shortened to redirected walking. So how does it work? I will give a demonstration here, but really quickly how to actually set it up. You need a room that is greater than like 3 by 3 meters, or a play space that's bigger than 2 by 2 meters. You need a good boundary setup so that you don't run into anything. Over advanced settings helps for turning, for counting turns, or you can use turn signal as well. Let's see. There are a bunch of different patterns and techniques for manual redirected walking. I'll just go through one of them. So you will choose your artificial turn, be it smooth, snap, or space turn. So I can play this video here. Skip forward slightly. So what you do, I'll wait for the video to come up. There we go. So the red area and red and blue area represents my play space. And obviously we've got a camera view of my real room. And what I do is that I'll walk across my room and then turn in real life to face the center of my room, and then use the joystick to turn, and that rotates my entire play space over, and then walk again. So that, of course, looks like this in VR. Oh, I did it a little bit early. I skipped a step there. So you walk until you reach an edge, turn towards the center of your room, and then turn joystick turn or artificial turn in the virtual direction you want to go, and walk again. And eventually you will get let me go back to the presentation. Eventually you will want to go faster, so you can combine the turns simultaneously like this, and you can go slightly faster, and it's a slightly more smooth motion as well. And of course, most of you have cable headsets, so to help preserve their life, you want to do a figure 8 pattern. So what that is that when you reach an edge or a corner, you turn one direction. So I'm turning left here, and then go across your room, and then you turn in the opposite direction. So I want to turn to the right, so like this. That makes sure that you cancels out the rotations and helps preserve the life of your cable, just in case that it gets tangled. And you can also use software to count your turns as well, like over advanced settings has that. In fact, I want to go to my VR view, and there we go. So we get a live view of the room. You can wave. Everyone's robots. I'm sorry, I can't handle this many avatars on my computer. Give it a second. There we go. So you can see, if I look down, a center marker on my play space that counts the turns. I think I've already turned too many times, so that it doesn't work. It's already overwritten 3 of them. And of course, I got a view of my play space here through the camera. I guess I gotta wait for the feed to catch up. And this is my room. This is a relatively large basement, so I can able to walk around. I'll give it a second. Oh, I should go back to the presentation. I already showed that video. So I didn't invent redirected walking or manual redirected walking. It was actually first developed by this guy back in 2005. And they actually developed like a software to keep the user in their play space, and to make it that they didn't actually notice the rotations that would bring them back to the center. But it needed a few things to do that. So it actually required a very large play space, something like 30 by 30 meters. There's about a third of a football field. There we go. There's a slide. The software is pretty complicated, and it still has some corner case issues. And while there have been a lot more studies to bring that play space size down, it still hasn't reached enough where everyone can do it. Even I know that a lot of users still don't have enough play space even for this currently. Let's see, I already kind of went over that. So the benefits of manual redirected walking. Obviously, get to use your legs as exercise. I know a lot of users get full body tracking and then realize that all they do is sit in a chair with it, so that's kind of unfortunate use of technology. But yeah, you get to use your legs. Oops, I need to step forward. It doesn't require any extra hardware. It's completely free if you have the room, and it allows for complete freedom of movement. So, unlike slide mills or treadmills, like I can really jump or like roll or go prone. I can do that. I can really just do exactly whatever I wanted in my room, because I can just stop redirecting whenever I wanted, and it's use room scale locomotion. And of course, it is precise as accurate as real walking, so you get that extreme benefit with that. Let's see. So with that accuracy, you can do something like open the door better. Let's see. And as a final benefit to manual redirected walking, it increases the immersion by a lot. The perception and like feel of the scale adds so much to redirected walking. Oh, I should skip forward here. There we go. The environment really comes out when you're actually walking it in virtual reality, or even in real spaces, and that is really something you lose with pure artificial movements, and that's a real shame, because there's a lot of different games and experiences that would really benefit from this locomotion. And of course, there are no free lunches, even in VR. This requires you to at least have some play space. So, as I said earlier, this would still be pretty niche because not a whole lot of users actually have the room. But I know people that are always looking for more play space for either dancing or other means for virtual reality. Walking is pretty slow, so everything seems to be built around this fast movement of joysticks. So you won't be competing directly in a race with someone using a joystick because you'll lose every single time. And if you have tried to run in a small room, it is pretty difficult. I know that some users will absolutely hate seeing their bounds all the time. I recommend to keep them on because you need to know when and how to turn. And some people will just absolutely not like that, but it is pretty necessary for this technique. Some users cannot overcome motion sickness, which is unfortunate, but some people just cannot. And it also, when you start out, it takes a while to get used to these motions. It's pretty confusing when you're new to this, to when to turn and how to do it and how that makes sense. Because you need to like visualize these two different spaces. And lastly, it kind of sucks for cabled users because it can increase the wear on your cable and whatnot, and also gets tangled and you have to keep track of it. I'm gonna get a sip of water real quick. Excuse me. So, what games currently support manual ejector walking? Some games work better than others, but it comes down to how they handle real space movement on their player controller. So, what that means is like, if I move around, does it do something janky? So a perfect match for this, actually. Where is my Half-Life Alyx video? Hopefully this isn't too loud. There we go. So a perfect match for this would be Half-Life Alyx. It has a relatively slow gameplay, so like puzzles are slow. You can walk around, really enjoy the environment. The environments are extremely well detailed. Like it's so much fun going through and just like seeing what the developers have done to make this game really shine in virtual reality. And the combat can be slowed down to make it work for manual ejector walking. You just got to play smarter. But it doesn't actually work out of the box for manual ejector walking. As you'll see in a second, I'll probably pull up a menu where I enable some hack, and there's a lot of issues that comes with the hack that I made. It's really unfortunate that it doesn't work. And I actually recorded the distance traveled I actually recorded how long it took to walk Half-Life Alyx, or I mean the distance. And it actually takes about 16 kilometers, which is something I find fascinating, that this feat of physical exertion being done to do something in virtual reality, which I find is absolutely fascinating. Go to Boneworks. Give it a second for the slide to change. So, Boneworks and sort of Bone Labs, very similar player controller. Their player controller is very, very good. It works in a physics sort of base. And it can save, like, it can do something really cool that a lot of games don't, or not, excuse me. It can do something that is not really possible in a lot of different games. Since it's so physics-based, it can save your momentum when you really move around in space. So what that means is that if you were to jump, or excuse me, if you were to run off of a ledge, you'd continue off of a parabola, or like you continue off with your velocity. But in other games, you would reach that edge and you just drop straight down. This makes it possible to jump like gaps, as you see in a few here. You still have to press the jump button, but you can run and then press the jump button, and you can jump like these gaps, and it's really satisfying to do. Unfortunately, though, it is pretty boring to walk because it was clearly designed for very fast-paced joystick locomotion. So it's a very tedious sort of thing to do. Overall, it takes about 8 kilometers to walk, which is also pretty cool. All right. Wait for this to move again. But a little known fact about this method of walking is that you can actually add it to the speed. In some games, you can add it to the speed of your artificial locomotion, so that like a joystick. And using this, I was actually able to get top 10 speedruns for Boneworks using this method. It looks pretty silly because I should have skipped forward. Oh, whatever, it'll come back in a second. Alright, where I lost track. So using this, I was able to get top 10 speedruns in Boneworks, but upon the moderators seeing this method, they actually banned the use of moving around this fast. They called it play space abuse, which I just find absolutely crazy that they banned this, because I find it very similar to how bee hopping and in Quake and like Counter-Strike changed that scene. And I just think that's a real damn shame. Moving on to a game that I really like, Hot Dogs, Hoosiers, and Hand Grenades. This is actually the game where I walk probably the most. I haven't done it recently, but it has a player controller very similar to, or it has a basic player controller, which is what most games have. And there's a certain level called Take and Hold that is about a mile to walk, and I was very determined to complete it with just manual redirected walking. And you can see me doing some tactical hot dog surgery here. Eventually, I was able to complete the I was able to complete a run of that, and a tournament. When I completed that, a tournament was just announced for a community, and it was called The War. It was a battle between the locomotion methods, actually. It was a battle between arm swinger and the twin stick. I was put on the twin stick team because they didn't have quite enough members, but I was able to compete relatively well despite using a very slow locomotion method. Again, it comes back to how you apply your combat skills more than the speed and agility on a game. Let's see. Go back to the presentation. So finally, we arrive at this game, VRChat, and similar social games. I actually first learned about manual redirected walking from Kung's video on his implementation of it inside of OVR advanced settings. He demoed it working inside of VRChat. And Kung now works for VRChat now, which is actually pretty cool. And I've made several worlds using manual redirected walking. So I have I have 2 trails and a sort of a prototype player controller sort of thing, sort of an obstacle course that I submitted for the one of the obstacle course jams. And of course, there's other people have made some worlds as well. Hi has made his visualizer, which is very similar to the video I showed, except it actually syncs for other people. You can see other people's play space and how they move around and what their sort of techniques are and what they've found that works best for them. And then there's the Infinite Walking group, Mikkel, and I'll talk about that right now. You play their video. So there are 2 groups, or as far as I know, there are 2 groups that that do manually directed walking. Real Locomotion, that is run by Rayru1. He's now in. They are now in Chill Out VR, and they're dedicated to help teach people real locomotion, so infinite walking, place-space climbing, stuff like that. And then there's the Infinite Pedestrian group, which is this video right here. It's a Japanese group, and they host walking events. And it is always a delight to see people walking in virtual reality. It's almost like they belong inside of the game. It's always fun to see. Go to this. And this next video here, after this. Give it one more second there. So, this is Burnt Venom from the Real Locomotion group. And he's demonstrating how he does manually directed walking, or infinite walking, as a lot of people call it there. And of course, you don't need to be in a group to walk. I often have hosted some smaller meetups with just some friends, and it's a good way of exploring and like really seeing what people have made inside of VRChat. Oh wait, and onto this thing now. Give it a couple more seconds for that. So, I think dancing and manually directed walking have a good potential to work together. I still see a lot of dancers sort of stuck inside their play space, which is fine if you're just doing that, but I think this could easily expand the virtual movements of those dancers so they can actually move around like a stage. I'm not a very particularly good dancer myself, but obviously I'm able to do something very advanced like virtual insanity here. So during this, I had to basically keep track of 3 different dimensions: my real room, the virtual space, and also the stage, which was inside of the virtual space. So that was very difficult to do, and then do the dance on top of it. So even back then, 2005, the original paper stated that something like manually directed walking was possible. And I think there's 2 reasons why we don't really see it right. We don't really see a lot of people doing this right now. Firstly, I think it's the difficulty of the technique. You still need some room, like I said earlier, and it can be hard to learn. But also, I think the bigger factor is the lack of awareness. So I haven't seen that many users actually using it, and I always try to spread the word about this. And here's a quote from the original paper. Finally, a virtual environment system designer may find it acceptable for some users to notice the rotation injected by redirection, in exchange for requiring even less space. It is conceivable, but untested, that noticeable rotation is better than unnaturalness of using some other locomotion technique for large virtual scenes. Of course, injection by redirection, we can just do that manually, and so that we can do manually reject walking in a smaller space. So I'm in my basement here. So manually directed walking offers many advantages over other locomotion methods, but it's not perfect either. I believe we will see an increase of users wanting to do this as headsets improve, so as they get lighter, cheaper, standard, wireless. And with that, people might actually go outside and touch grass with their headsets. So like even in fields and in gyms, so that they're able to use redirected walking in a more proper form, and something that will be a lot easier to do bigger movements like running and whatnot. And also, I think it's good for training applications. So stuff where that requires like walking and whatnot. So I'm looking at, or stuff like the U.S. military might do, but who knows? Let's see. So I believe manual redirected walking is a good stopgap before we get truly good omnidirectional treadmills or brain control interfaces, because this is one of the only methods that really uses your legs properly in walking form. And a message to VR devs: please make manual redirected walking work in your games. And if there's one thing to take away from this event or this talk, is that manual redirected walking is a thing. So, thank you. Also, I'm going to announce that if you remember a while ago, ThrillSlicker did a half marathon with a catwalk, and I will be attempting a full marathon in VR chat with manual redirected walking sometime in the next year. I don't know when, but I will be actually training for that, and I hope to blow past what ThrillSlicker did. Let's see, you can find me on YouTube or the Twitter. Good luck typing in this. It would usually give you the actual Spirit Mars rover. You can just look up manual redirected walking. You'll probably find some videos of mine. And you can finally open up to questions. So let's see. I think if we have people come up here, like to the front, and ask a question or something, I don't know.
Well, I think more of the time we just did like a line like that.
Okay, that works. So yeah, if you have a question, come up here in the front in the line. Or if there are any questions.
Yeah, I've got something.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Have you used like a carpet or like a mat in the center of your play space to act as like a physical, basically reference point for when you do your infinite walking?
In the past, I set down 2 mats in the corners, and I sort of felt where that mat started, and I was able to do that. But eventually, that got like too annoying, and I got good enough where I can just kind of in the sort of periphery of the VR view, you can sort of see the edges, and you can just sort of correct that. But yeah, it is a good starting thing to do.
Let's see if I can find my wall. So I'm trying to see if I can potentially try to fit into my play space, although I don't much have more than like, maybe arm span one direction.
Right, and that's people have made it work in smaller rooms. It's just you have to really work it. You have to really work it well. Right. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Hello.
My question is, what about like quest users, ones that don't have like full body tracking? Do you still think it's still needed full body tracking for like like walking?
Right, that is a good question. Full body tracking is completely not necessary for redirected walking. I do it obviously to demonstrate that you use your legs. This is actually the very reason I got full body tracking. But like you can do this in other games like Half of Alex, Boneworks, and they don't have any tracking requirements, so you can just do it with a headset and controllers. That's a good question. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, sorry about my mic having some issues. I'm trying to figure out how to fix it, but I'm sorry if the presentation heard the echo. Anyways, yeah, I wasn't here for the whole thing, but so far that I know, I was wondering, so if they do you think they could like I don't know if you saw one of my things on my head, a message I was putting up, but um is it possible? Do you think would it work if you could if it if it could use it if they decided to put poly playtime in here? That would be pretty.
Sorry, I didn't understand. What was the question?
So do you think if they decide to put poly playtime on here, do you think that?
I'm unaware what poly playtime is. Is that something to do with locomotion?
Poly playtime. It's like it's a game, and you guys know what poly playtime is, right?
Is it relevant?
Well, it's basically you're training. Basically,
Does it
toys are
have a VR version? I know you can play a
No,
desktop.
no,
I don't know
I
if
was
it's
like,
had...
I was like saying, if they ever did put in, ever made a VR version of it, do you think it would work good with it? That's what I'm saying.
As long as they have the right, locomotion method in there, should technically work.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
So
it's more
it's,
about the player controller
he
than
has
the game
to,
itself.
the
Right.
game has to be able to track
Yeah, yeah.
it,
Oh,
moves you in the
okay.
game when you move in your real life. As long as it has that, it'll work to some degree. But it has to have
Right.
that
All right.
fundamental baseline to actually be
All right,
possible in the first place.
All right, I wasn't here the whole time, so I just wanted to like.
Oh, that's right.
Understand this. So
It-
you don't with this you don't need the tracking stuff.
You don't need full body tracking. You just need a headset and controllers and some space.
You don't need like slimes or like.
Nope. You
No,
just
right.
need a headset.
So
Full
this
body
is the new
tracking
model,
helps
right?
to demonstrate that you use your legs. Yeah.
The new model. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
All right then. All right. Sorry for taking so long. My bad.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
I can go through.
How long did this take? How long did this take, by the way?
Oh yeah.
What, like the presentation, or like how long to get used to it?
No. I mean developing this.
Well, I didn't develop it, but I did find out about it about 2 years ago, and I've been
Oh, that's neat.
sort of promoting it ever since. I'm not actually sure who sort of invented the manual part of it, but the first paper was back in 2005 about an automatic version of this, but that doesn't work for everybody because you need a large play space. Anyways, do you have a question here?
Yeah. How long did it take? Average time do you see for people getting conditioned and learning how to do manual directed walking?
Right. It's kind of all over the place, honestly.
Okay.
Some people can pick it up almost right away, and then some people get motion sick really quickly, and they cannot do it very long. And some people take, like for me personally, it took about a month to get really good at it, and like
Oh wow.
where it
okay.
basically became second nature. But it really does vary. And but yeah, I think the average is probably like a couple weeks to really get good at it.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
That's a good question. Yes.
I might try it later.
All right.
was service redirected sitting.
Oh yeah. There is something I can actually teach you right now. I can pull up my chair. So even sitting in a chair, you guys can do redirected sitting. So this is gonna be a bit funny. So if you guys can follow along with me. If you lean forward and then rotate 180 degrees, and then lean backwards, and then rotate 180 degrees. Oh, I can do it this way.
Yeah. Oh wait. People
You
do this in
can.
Rec Room.
Wow.
Oh
You
yeah, I
can
remember that.
redirected sit. And you can slowly move.
Oh, people do that on Rec Room. You know, they would glitch out of bounds using that.
That's funny.
That actually reminds me, I saw a video recently about people using chairs for flipping and rotating in Spider-Verse where they would have a reclining chair, and they'd use places, horizontal reposition to basically prop themselves up and lying down, and then they could basically rotate 360 in both directions using that chair.
You start using the
Nice.
horizon.
Woo. Tracking, please. Woo.
So
But yeah,
people are getting
another-
pretty crazy with this stuff now.
But yeah, that's a very silly thing that comes with having the two different dimensions and linked by the rotations. I can go through a bit of a couple other patterns that I've seen that helps cabled users if you guys want. So I personally have a wireless headset, but one method that I thought of that I thought would work for cabled users is sort of like a I don't know if you call it like crab stepping or something like that. I'm not really sure what to call it, but you sort of face a single direction and only rotate towards that. It does the same thing of canceling out of the rotations, but you can still manually redirect or walk with it. So if I do this and then rotate and then do this and then rotate and then do this, I'm not actually adding any rotations globally, but I'm still canceling out those. Or I'm still actually moving around and rotating and whatnot. Let's see. There's also like when you get wireless. If you get a wireless headset, what most people do is that they just go in a big old circle along the room, and they sort of tap the joystick, and that allows them to sort of continuously walk, and it makes it look better too. Sort of, you still get that little bit of leaning, but yeah. Oh yeah, I should go to my VR view maybe. So I showed this earlier, but let's see. So this is my play space. This is probably pretty large for most people, but like you need to make sure that you clear it out. And I have some good carpet on the ground. I have some mats under the carpet for doing some stunts and whatnot if I wanted to.
Is that your real room in your house on the screen right now?
Yes. Let me go to camera and come on. Why you go do that? Colored passage. Nope, not colored. It is
Ooh, wow.
translucent. Nope, let's go to opaque. There we go. So this is my real room in color now.
Whoa.
You can see
Penthouse.
going around. Yeah, I got plenty of room, and I have even expanded in this direction for extra room if I wanted to go like even further and whatnot.
Do some tumbling.
Of course,
Got
got it set up in this corner.
the bike satellites.
Yeah.
Got a good 10, 15 feet to go work right there.
I know. I gotta thank my mom. I think she's watching the Twitch stream actually, so I gotta thank her because she allows me to use the majority of the basement for my shenanigans.
Take over the basement.
You love to see it. Yeah, exactly.
So what you're showing on the screen right now is us showing on the screen, right?
Right, it's my view. Let me go back to the presentation.
One other thing I want to ask you so for example, could you do something like show your room, but also have us in it? Have us like, for example, have us like QR
Overlaid.
avatars. Like
Like
Pokemon
mixed
Go, how
reality?
you like choose your partner.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
right.
it's all about mixed reality.
QR. Could you do something like that for us?
Yeah, I don't know if VRC
I can do like
supports that yet.
I can do like a transparent view. It's not it's not a it's not like an actual view, but it's like I can see my real world transparency. Actually, I can try that right
You know what
now.
I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Right, it's a mixed reality thing, but it is not.
Yeah.
I can't do it directly.
Yeah, I don't think
And
VRC
it's not very.
supports that yet.
Right.
Or
It's
at
just
least
this is just an overlay.
having cutouts for the avatars
It would be an
specifically.
interesting application for dance, for partner dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. But the list of interesting ideas the devs are working through is pretty long. Yeah. Cool.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, the overlay is mostly for just being able to find like your drink or something. I don't find it that useful for much else than that, really. In fact, I won't take a sip here. I think it's just about time. I don't know if we can go over. Oh yeah, go ahead.
That GIF, that iconic GIF you have in the background, is the carpet
Yeah.
that one at all coincidentally related to the carpet in your room? Patterns on it. Patterns on yours.
It's similar. It is not the same. Yeah. That's just a random
Little
world that I
coincidence.
found.
Love that GIF.
Found the Y beam, so we were able to do the Dr. Livesey meme.
Also infinite walking.
Yeah. Well, sort of. They didn't. These two don't have much play space, so
Okay.
they were kind of just walking and then hitting the wall.
Too cute.
Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Well, I want to thank you all for coming to this.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do here. Thank you.
Okay, now I should have.
You did great.
Oh, cool.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. You know, I wasn't here all the time. The whole time, I really liked it.
Yep.
Actually, as round
Alright.
thought, I had just something good introduce is actually being able a slider to adjust the speed of smooth turning would be something nice for this.
It would be.
'Cause right now
Yeah.
you've got a fixed speed.
Yeah.
But
The index
putting like a cap on, so you
controller.
just hit left or
You
right.
do that
Actually, I
with,
guess
Space
it'd be more of
Drag and OVR Advanced.
Oh yeah,
Space
I should
Rotate.
go to that.
yeah. I think I don't have
There's one more thing I wanted to do.
I don't think I have that extension, so I might have to look into that.
Yeah, so over your advanced settings
Alright.
has
Testing play space.
Actually, I need to actually go into it. Oh, there we go. Rotation.
yeah, rotation and
I
then
barely
space
played this
turn.
thing.
You can go to space turn for manual redirected walking and then bind it. And then what that does is it binds a turn to your hand. So if I rotate my hand, it does a rotation for my play space. So I can use that for redirected walking. It's a little bit smoother. And this is what Kung actually developed. This is what I was bringing up with his development in over advanced settings. So this is what he demoed actually.
Okay, cool.
And this is, in my opinion, a lot more natural, but it's not really supported in a lot of games since it's technically a play space movement.
Yeah.
Like since your rotation, and then it does some silly stuff with games a lot of the time, which is unfortunate. Let's see, offsets, reset. There we go.
Mess with OVR more.
Oh yeah, so
What is
see
this
some
called,
things.
by the way? What is it called? BTR? Is that what?
The OVR advanced settings.
Oh, it's called OVR. Okay, I thought. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
so let's go
it's
back to this
OVR.
main OVR advanced settings right there. Yeah, I guess it takes a second.
Where? Ah, we're up there.
Yep. This is a very useful program. This is what I usually use for my chaperone center mark force bounds, and you can see them sort of traced on the ground.
It's a free thing you can get on Steam.
Yeah, the event's done now, right?
Depends on if they're done streaming, which I don't think they are yet.
No quest thing.
But yeah, you can download OVR advanced settings on Steam for free.
On my headset? Really?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
if
gonna
you're
go now. It's like
if
really
you're
early.
using Steam, yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna go now.
I think I'm done here. I'm gonna walk off stage.
I'm gonna leave now. Bye bye.
I'm not even heard that there's bowling after this. I like bowling.
Amazing talk, Spirit.
Hey Nico,
Thank you.
it's your cousin. How about we go bowling?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the best explanation I'd seen of that stuff in a long time.
There we go. Now I have big
Yeah,
space.
I want more people to know about this.
Oh, that's really cool. Definitely gotta spread the bot around. Yeah.
Also, I've never just...
Are you on like 5? Because it's a single speed, I think.
No, it's just a question. Let you know.
I mean, you could try. It's pretty tricky to actually like use the joystick and like get the lower settings.
I know I can do
Um,
that, but like anything more, go crazy.
Right.
You YouTuber? You YouTuber?
You could try doing
Oh, cool. Oh, I know the Gundam things on your. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I wish I could change it to my normal avatar, but that's not going to be good for this.
So what you could try doing on the Quest is
I'm sorry, I just.
you can like
too excited.
push it forward and then go left and right. That's you can sort of get those slower
Oh.
rotations a little bit better. I mean, you gotta learn some.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty tricky with the Quest joystick, I bet.
Don't know if
Right.
you might remember me on that, but
Oh,
yeah, we met a long time ago
Right.
in the midnight
And
rooftop.
if you ever tried walking, also something I
With,
also
Weebs
should have
at
brought
the
up. If you ever tried walking backwards in VR, it's really scary
Well,
at
no,
first.
oh, I know Weebs. Yeah, this is my
Prepared for that one,
other
hold up.
account. Joey.